Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. Today we're gonna be talking about the Laporta Gate, a documentary that has been released in regards to the outstanding criminal case against Joan Laporta. And I'm gonna explain to you what this case is about and how it could affect FC Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. My name is Mo, and today we're going to be talking about Laporta Gate, a documentary that was released a few days ago detailing the role of Joan Laporta in the bankruptcy of Reus Football Club and also the criminal case against them for defrauding investors. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's going on in that case. I'm just going to give you an overview. Otherwise, this video will end up being an hour or maybe 2 hours long. And also, before we begin, I do want to make two disclaimers. The first one is that everything that happened, which I will tell you about during this video, was done by Joan Laporta as a private citizen, not as a president of FC Barcelona. So this has nothing to do with FC Barcelona. And the second disclaimer is that, of course, all of this is allegations, or all of these are allegations. There's a pending court case. So, of course, innocent until proven guilty. So, just for watching this doesn't mean, or you shouldn't assume, that Joan Laporta is guilty. These are simply allegations. And until there's an actual finding by a court, we should assume that Joan Laporta is innocent in all of this. But nonetheless, let's dive into exactly what happened during this case dubbed Laporta Gate. And we have to go back to 2011, where Joan Laporta, Jean Olivier, Sala, Martin, and Rafa Yuste, the four of them, who were all members of Joan Laporta's board of directors during the first presidency. Some of them still are. For example, Rafa Yuste, still the vice president of Barcelona during this second presidency of Laporta. And there's Jean Olivier, of course, who we still don't know what his current role is at the club. He's not technically hired by the club, but we know that he is a very important figure in the decision of FC Barcelona. But not to digress, the four of them formed a company called Core Store, where each of them owned 25% share of that company. And under that company, they had a subsidiary called CSSB Limited. Now, CSSB Limited purchased 57% of a football club called CF Reus, a club that was founded in 1922. And there was the company called Pau, which was owned by Jean Olivier, and that company purchased 42% of CF Reus, making these four the majority holders, owning 99% of the shares of this football club. Now, CSSB Limited also purchased a Chinese club in third division of China called BIT, or Beijing Institute of Technology. And while the purpose of this whole venture was to grow both Reus and BIT into first division, turn them into successful clubs, and make money. Well, that did not work out. In the case of BIT, the Chinese club, was a third division club. The players were obese. They were not competitive at all. And in fact, it's been revealed that neither Joan Laporta or Olivier or anybody ever held any kinds of meetings, executive meetings. There's no minutes of any meetings. There is no financial statements. There's absolutely nothing. It looks like they just purchased that club and then they didn't do anything. And in fact, Jean Olivier himself admitted during court proceedings that that club has never generated any kind of money and continues not to generate any kind of money. Now, in the case of Reus, even though they did get promoted to second division, and then they started making money, going from 500,000 euros to 7 million euros. The club was eventually liquidated because even though they continued to make more and more money, their debt continued to grow and grow and grow. And while there is allegations of fraud, where, Joan Laporta and the rest of them use the club either to steal money, launder money, something doesn't seem right. In fact, there are many companies owned by these individuals like Laporta and Olivier who Reus owed money to them on paper. So it's not really clear what happened, but there was definitely financial mismanagement. And while Reus ended up being liquidated in 2020. Now, up to this point, It all seems fine. It has nothing to do with FC Barcelona, right? This just seems like a business venture that Laporta launched with his friends and that it failed, right? But the plot thickens because Laporta and the other ones involved are also accused of defrauding investors. And well, the reason why these allegations emerged is because it looks like CSSB Limited had two intermediaries, Sandra Solé and her boyfriend at the time, Fernando de Oliveira. These were two individuals who were in charge of bringing private investors to invest in this project, in the CCSB Limited project, in exchange for commissions. And these two were able to convince many investors, but the ones who have brought lawsuits are first what they call the Primativa family. This is a family that they haven't released their names due to privacy, but it's a family that won the lottery, the Primativa lottery, and they ended up investing 4.7 million euros. Then there are the brothers Tartas, two sisters and a brother, who invested 450,000 into this venture. And then there's the tennis player Albert Ramos, and of course Tony Cruz, who you might have heard his name before, but remember that name because it will come up later. Now, in the case of the Primativa family, again, they're the family who won a lottery. The first thing they did was go to a luxury auto dealership to buy a luxury vehicle, and that's where they met Fernando de Oliveira, who was a car salesman there, and he introduced them to his girlfriend at the time, Sandra Solé, and the two of them convinced this family to invest 4.7 million euros into this venture, money that poof disappeared and this family never saw again. They didn't even receive interest on their investment, and it's been revealed that this money was also mishandled. For example, 2 million out of the 4.7, instead of going directly to the club, it was instead used to pay debts owned by a company called Guedo. Guedo at the time was the sponsor of Reus Football Club, and they owned two private haciendas, which they owed a lot of money and they were at risk of foreclosure. And instead of using those 2 million to invest into the Reus Football Club, which at the time were having problem registering their players, instead they used the 2 million to pay out the debt on the two haciendas to prevent foreclosure. Now, Guedo ended up being liquidated anyway. That company went bankrupt, and of course, the Primativa family ended up losing all their money. Now, Joan Laporta denies any involvement with this family. However, it's been revealed that Joan Laporta did invite them to the Spotify Camp Nou in 2018. And it's alleged that Joan Laporta tried to use his position as a former president at the time to convince them to invest. Kind of like, look, I was the president of Barcelona in the 2000s. I got him out of financial problem. I built the best Barca in history with Guardiola. I obviously know what I'm doing, so you should invest in this. And it looks like that worked because the Primativa family invested 4.7 million euros. Now, there's the Tartas brothers. First, it was two sisters who invested 400,000 euros. They too were recruited by Sandra Solé and Fernando de Oliveira. And they too, their money was completely lost. Now, Joan Laporta has also said that he has nothing to do with these two sisters. However, when they first invested, they were receiving interest on their investment. And instead of receiving a financial statement like usual investors do, they would instead receive an email saying, hey, you've been paid this amount in interest. And well, where did the emails come from? Well, they came from Joan Laporta's law firm. And Joan Laporta was CC'd on all these emails. And the emails came from his secretary, who is now, by the way, a member of the board of directors of Barcelona. So it looks like he did know them, even though he denied that in open court. Then there is the Tartas brother, who at first was hesitant of investing his money, but after being convinced by Sandra Solé and Fernando de Oliveira, he invested 50,000 euros. And again, Joan Laporta said he doesn't know this guy, he's never dealt with him. But in court, it's been revealed that the contract that the brother Tartas signed, it was signed by Joan Laporta himself. So it looks like Laporta did know who this guy is after all. Now, up to this point, everything is good, right? It's just, even if this is proven, to be true, it looks like just Joan Laporta was running a Ponzi scheme. He ripped off some investors, whatever, right? That has nothing to do with FC Barcelona. But this is where it gets Very, very, very problematic. Now, the allegation is that the brother Tartas, after being owed money and filing a lawsuit against Joan Laporta, at this point, Joan Laporta was the president of FC Barcelona, and the brother Tartas alleges that Joan Laporta, through Sandra Soler, offered to buy his paintings with the club's money to pay off the debt. Now, the brother Tartas is a painter. His paintings are expensive. And allegations are that Laporta offered to buy, 50,000 or however much he owed him worth of paintings with the money of FC Barcelona. Now, this is only an allegation. It has not been proven to be true. But if it's proven to be true, this is a huge, huge problem. Because, hey, if you want to rip people off in your private time, go for it. That's between you and the law and between you and your conscience. But the moment you start using club's money, that's where we have a problem. Now, it gets worse. The Tartas sisters, they allege that Joan Laporta, through Sandra Soler, offered them jobs at FC Barcelona in order to pay off the debt. Now, the sisters said, I don't want to work at Barcelona. I don't know nothing about football. I don't know nothing about working at a football club. And Sandra Soler told them, oh, don't worry. This wouldn't be real jobs. We would simply issue you contracts so you can appear on the books of FC Barcelona that you are employees of FC Barcelona. You would receive salaries from FC Barcelona until your debt is paid off, and then we're good to go. You don't have to work. You would just simply be getting paid from the club. Again, this is only an allegation, but if proven true, this is very, very serious problem. Because again, if you want to defraud people on your own time, go for it. But the moment you start using club money or try to use club money to pay off your debts, that's a huge, huge problem. But the plot thickens even more. Then there's Toni Kroos. He too was an investor. It hasn't been revealed how much he has invested. But guess where he is now? Well, he works for Barca Vision. And the allegation is that Joan Laporta gave him that job to pay off the debt because after all, Toni Kroos is, I think, a singer or an artist. He has no experience in running football clubs or football club divisions. And then there is more. Enter the American Brian Bachner. Now, Brian Bachner was the director of CSSB Limited. And when the whole thing fell apart, he got hired as the director of FC Barcelona's Asia office. Then he was promoted as director of FC Barcelona's New York office. And now he is the director of Barca Vision. And again, the allegations are that Joan Laporta gave Brian Bachner this job in order to keep him quiet as to not to say what exactly happened with CSSB Limited. And then there's more because there is Jean Centelles, Jean Centelles, who was the general manager of Reus FC. He now works at FC Barcelona. He's the person in charge of the Espai Barca project. And there is Pere Luis Mellado, who was the secretary of Reus FC, and he now is the head of the legal services at FC Barcelona. And of course, the allegations are that these two were hired in exchange for what happened with CSSB. And Sandra Soler was recorded also asking for a job from Joan Laporta because after this whole thing fell apart, she has lost clients and she was looking for employment also at Barcelona in exchange for what she did for CSSB. Now, again, I want to stress this very importantly. All these are allegations. There's a pending investigation and a pending criminal case against Joan Laporta where if proven guilty, he would serve 8 years of prison. So for now, it's innocent until proven guilty. These are mere allegations. There's no reason to just assume that he is guilty. But if Joan Laporta is found guilty, this is very, very serious because like I said, if you want to defraud people at your own time, go for it. That's between you and the law and between you and your conscience. But the moment you start using the club to pay off your debts, to cover up your crime, that is a serious problem. And if proven guilty, not only should Joan Laporta serve prison time, but he should be expelled as Barcelona president. His membership as associate should be revoked. And he should never, ever be allowed to even go to Barcelona matches. Anyways, that is all I have for you this video. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down below in the comment section. I did the podcast and a news video last night, so make sure to check them out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, peace, guys.